As a beginner to the complicated world of investing, you need the best app to help you build wealth. Something that's worthy of a gold medal. Here are the 11 competitors who are competing for the title. Webull, Robinhood, M1 Finance, Tastyworks, Sofi, Public, Vanguard, Acorns, Cash App, Ally, and Wealthfront. Is that 11? So what makes an app worth using? What makes it an elite competitor? Well, it needs to satisfy these three factors. Number one, profit. It needs to help us make as much money as possible through the tools, the design of the service, through the products they offer, all more profit. Number two, it needs to offer progress. It needs to encourage us to keep going for years, to keep investing, because if we just invest for a week, it won't really do anything for us. And number three, it needs to be painless. It needs to be easy to use. We aren't Wall Street hedge fund managers. We aren't getting paid the big bucks to sit here and study some crazy chart. It's got to do all three. First off, there's actually two different events happening today because some investing services that we can use are oriented towards a long, slow process like an ultramarathon. Others are built for short sprints of investing activity. These are very different in terms of profit, progress, and pain, but we'll find the best from each race and award them with the gold medal. First, the long distance event. Services like M1 Finance, Acorns, Ally, Wealthfront, and Vanguard are all long, and they're in this long event because they're built for those of us who think about investing in terms of years or decades. And they're slow because they don't allow for fast investing trades. It's really not quite an option. I mean, you can kind of do it, but you really can't do it. They're sort of like these guys from Zootopia. Odds are you're going to wait several hours, if not an entire day, for your trade to go through. And that's really, I think, by design. The pain that you experience by using them is a slow burn. That whole ethos of like that slow burn and having to wait and having to be patient reminds me of trail running to the top of the tallest mountain here in Arizona, where I live, Humphreys Peak. That trail is gorgeous and it's challenging. It starts at over 9,000 feet above sea level, where the air is thin, and it goes up and back 10 miles. Over the course of several hours, you climb 3,300 feet of elevation, and you lose more and more oxygen as you go. It's a long, slow, intentional day. It reminds me of these apps because we've got to make progress slowly over a long period of time. Speaking of progress, how can we grade these services to make sure that they give us the progress that we need as investors? Well, they need to get us slow and steady progress over time because anything else actually doesn't make sense. I don't need to see live news happening and a little chart that's moving all over the place all day long. They need to design the service for this kind of long-term thinking that keeps me in the game. It's not about who runs the quickest, it's about who slows down the least. Next, how are we going to grade them on profit? Well, they need to help us make as much money as possible. And so to do that, they need to give us enough tools to monitor our accounts and kind of know what we're doing, give us the right paperwork, do all that kind of stuff, maybe some education on like how investing works. That'd be good. It should also offer more than one kind of account because maybe I need a traditional IRA and an SEP IRA. Maybe I need a custodial account for my kids. Maybe a 529 college savings plan for my kids. I want all the options. I want you to provide me with all the services I could want. And speaking of services to help us make a profit, if I want the option, I'd like to have the banking there kind of tied to this too. I want the full package. And finally, reducing pain. How are we going to judge them on reducing pain? Well, there's a lot of pain when you're climbing up a mountain at 12,000 feet, and these services should help us mitigate that kind of pain. I want it to feel like floating downhill on my favorite trail, just feeling that runner's high. I want the investing app to allow me to do that with my money. I need it to not bring me down through a bunch of unnecessary stuff, help me stay focused on the long-term goal. First, M1 Finance. Does it give us the progress? I say yes. There's no real emphasis on like a minute-by-minute trade, and in fact, the trades take like hours, which some people don't like. I've gotten comments where people are like, M1 Finance sucks, it takes forever. It's like, I think that's kind of the point. The app is built for this kind of holistic, long-term money outlook. It encompasses investing and banking and research. You can borrow money on margin, which is sort of like taking a bunch of caffeine before you go on a run. Pretty risky. You might not feel so great, and it may or may not accelerate your failure. That's what caffeine and what margin can do. But you got the option. So I think it does a yes for the progress. How about profit? Does it check that box? I'd say yes. I've got all the tools I need to see my accounts. I've got a research tab. I can learn some stuff on there. I've got a high interest savings account that's apparently coming very soon. They're going to have like 4.5% interest, which is awesome. And then I have all the account types that I need to invest. So I personally have 4 different investing accounts with them. Plus they offer banking services. So they have like a debit card and a credit card, and I believe a checking account. You got to have a checking account to have a debit card. So it's got a lot of options there. I think it helps us with profit. And if you want to know more about that, I've made a bunch of videos about it. So look back in my playlists and you can see M1 Finance videos. And finally, does it reduce our pain? I'd say yes. M1 Finance is not that hard to use. It's not that confusing. I can transfer, I can invest, I can withdraw, I can do everything in between, and it's not terribly painful. They're designed design isn't perfect, but I think if they just tweaked it a little bit more, it would be totally painless. Next is Sofi. I get tons of questions in the comments about Sofi, so here we go. We're gonna finally talk about it, guys. Progress. Does it help us make progress? At first, I was going to say probably, and then I leaned towards no. So overall, Sofi has a lot going for it overall. Tons of features that can help us and get us going in like the right direction. It's got a lot of research, it's got a lot of options, but the problem with that is I think it has too much. So it has a lot of distraction too. You go on their website and it's just this flurry of tons of things. They want you to click on this, they want you to do that, and I want it to be a straight and narrow path. I want it to be like a single track trail, and it feels a bit more like an intersection. Plus, when I was using my account, their website failed to link on 2 different occasions to 2 different bank accounts. So I went, okay, I guess you can't link to this Wells Fargo bank account. Let me try another one. No, won't link to that. How about Ally? No. I'm like going, hey guys, I'm running out of bank accounts here. If you can't even link up with my bank account, then how am I supposed to make progress? What am I gonna do? So it's a fail on progress. How does Sofi do on profit? I say yes. Sofi is trying to make that possible. They've got tons of tools, and I think compared to every other investing app, they have the most free sources of learning, which is really cool. All the accounts that you might ever want, they offer. They're like a really big service. Banking, credit cards, personal loans, investing, net worth tracking, all kinds of stuff on there. It's all under one hood, if you will, so that's really cool. I think based on the 11 services that we're kind of surveying today, they've got the most thorough product offering out of any of them. So they're trying to help us make a profit. I like that. Do they help us reduce pain? Sofi feels like running in a grassy field that's full of holes to twist your ankle in. Crack. Yes, Sofi has a ton of options, and that's great, but as anyone who's eaten at a Cheesecake Factory knows, too many options are a flaw and not a feature. Their menu's huge. If you've never been there, their menu is like 15 pages long. It's ridiculous. Sofi is clearly focused on making profits for themselves, and they're trying to do that by getting you to sign up for all their different services. They're pitching it like, hey, you can do this, and this will help you, but a lot of them involve debt. Hey, you should take out a loan from us. Hey, you should get our credit card. Hey, you should do that. And in my mind, when they're that desperate to get you to do all that stuff and they're going to incentivize that, it's most likely going to end up in a financial injury and not a boost to us. So it's a no for me on that one. Too much potential for pain. Next is Vanguard. Does it help us with the progress? I say yes. It's very much set up to show your progress overall, not moment by moment, not second by second. Yeah, it's an older design, and so it's not like real sexy, but you're not tempted to make a bunch of money moves based on pretty charts or graphics either, so I think it's good. Does it help us with profit? I say no, unfortunately. We have some tools, and we have a lot of options for different kinds of accounts, and that's great. We have several accounts with them, so I can speak from experience there, but they don't have all the options I wish they had. They don't integrate any banking that they have themselves, which is kind of a bummer. And so I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity for them. And here's the worst one for Vanguard. Does it reduce our pain? No. Way too much pain. The app itself is simple enough to use, but the website just takes tons of hunting to figure out what you need. Yes, you can get used to it, like you can get used to anything, like eating raw kale in the morning or something like that, but is it worth doing that? I say no. Vanguard should spend some of that marketing budget that they're using for all their pro manager services that I see, like in emails and on ads and stuff, and instead use that on revising their design. Reduce the pain for us here, Vanguard. How about Acorns? Does it help us with progress? I say yes. They are the clearest when it comes to helping you visualize what it means for you to keep investing long into the future. They have this fun little future projections graph. Let me see if I can find it. All right, here's what I'm talking about. So whenever you pull up your Acorns app, you can click on this thing that says View Potential. And what this lets you do is look deep into the future and say, if I keep investing the way I am with the recurring investments that I've currently got, making the similar kind of returns, what might I have when I'm 70 or whatever age you want? You can kind of scroll up and down here and see what your hypothetical return would be. I think this is great. I don't know why more services don't do this because it's very simple, but it casts a really clear picture for you. And then you can play with it and say, how about I invest more money? Oh, wow, I'm up to 1.1 million. Who doesn't want to know this? This is like an investment calculator, but made easy and beautiful. Overall, the design of the service is just so simple and clean, and it orients us towards that forward thinking. So definitely helps with progress. How about profit? Well, unfortunately, they do have a $3 or $5 per month like membership fee you have to pay to use the service. That doesn't really help, but they do give you a ton of clear explanations on what it means to invest. It gives you associated information about different account types. They really explain that really well, so I like that. They still don't allow individual stock picking as of this very moment, but they've promised that they're going to add that very soon. So you should see that, like maybe by the time you're watching this, they might have it. But in a funny way, not having that option, to pick stocks individually, I think it makes us actually profit more. Because typically whenever we pick our own stocks, we do a worse job versus having something like an ETF or one of the things they do now, which are these like pre-made portfolios. Here, let me show you. So I'm using their aggressive portfolio for my stuff. And all that means is that it's invested in more equities and less bonds. But what it looks like is these different things: large company stocks, large and mid, small, intermediate. There's no bonds whatsoever, and then you're stuck doing some Bitcoin, which up until recently has not been a great thing, but thus far in the beginning of 2023, it's not been a bad thing. But what I'm getting at is that we're all so terrible at picking stocks that this actually helps us to do better long term. Yeah, in a year or in a few months, maybe you could do better, but over the course of 10, 15, 20 years, I highly doubt you could do better. So in the end, it barely makes the cut here. Profit, yes. And how does it help us reduce pain or not? Well, I'd say overall, using this app, there's very little pain. There's not really a simpler user face on the internet, period. My 3-year-old could almost use this. They're sleeping right now, so I can't talk too loud, but in theory, they could pretty much use this. I think it's the most streamlined and pain-free app in this entire competition. This is the equivalent of the runner's high. How about Ally? Does it help us with progress? Not particularly. It kind of feels like nothing's happening when you use Ally. I invested with them for years, and you understand in theory that you're investing or you're earning with a high yield savings or you're doing whatever, but there's no indication of great progress. Like, they're not communicating that very well, and so it's got this lackluster feel similar to Vanguard, but even worse. Does it help us profit? I say no. They've got some decent services, they're getting some decent interest rates again, but it's just devoid of features. It's like a desert. And does it reduce pain? Yeah, almost, but it's still kind of painful. It's like when you're on a run and you're feeling good for a little bit, and then the pain really sets in over time and it just gets worse and worse. I mean, it's not the worst design, but Ally isn't particularly streamlined either. It is a bit of a headache to use, so no. How about Wealthfront? Does it help us make progress? I say absolutely yes. It's merging the kind of world of personal finances and your finances overall, your net worth, with investing. And it does that, I think, really, really well. Because right when you open the app, it shows you what it thinks your net worth is. Obviously, that's dependent on the different accounts you've linked to it, but if you link them all, it should show you that. So that's very cool. And what I love about that is it's not merely focusing on your investing accounts. It's thinking more big picture. It's saying holistically, this is your financial health, which is really what your net worth number is. And so they're showing you that right off the bat. They're not showing you a day-to-day, moment-by-moment stock ticker, which is not indicative of your overall financial health. So progress, yes. What about profit? I say at first, it looks like a yes. It does encourage us to use diverse, low-cost portfolios made up of different funds, which that's great. But they also charge a fee of assets under management. It is 0.25%, so it's not huge, but you have that plus the cost of the investments on top of it. And by the time you have some money invested, it really starts to add up. So whenever we compare that to like $3 per month from Acorns or others, if you're investing with Wealthfront, by the time you have $1,500 invested, you're already paying more than that $3 per month. So if you've got less money than that to invest, Wealthfront could be good. But if anybody's got more than $1,500, you're going to pay a lot more. And I want you to have a lot more than $1,500 saved. As an example, let's say you have $450,000 invested, all within Wealthfront, all getting charged that little 0.25% fee. That ends up being $11,250 in fees to Wealthfront. That's big money. That does not help us profit. That's like a decent used car every year. Well, maybe 2 years ago it was a used car. Nowadays it's a half a used car. But for me, it's a no. Does not help us profit. Does Wealthfront reduce the pain in investing? I say overall it's a yes. That percentage fee is very painful. It's like stepping on a cactus or getting punched in the face every fifth mile or something. But overall as a service to use, it's very easy, very pain-free. Those are our long distance runners. And our top 2 finalists, the only 2 that checked all 3 boxes, were M1 Finance and Acorns. On to the next event, the sprints. The opposite of that kind of long-term investing is a short-sighted sprint of day trading and stock picking. The stuff that services like Robinhood, Webull, Tastyworks, Public, and Cash App are built for. Those kinds of services are designed to encourage frequent day trading. They default to showing you everything happening second by second, instant by instant. They make you feel like you're doing something wrong if you're not making 10% profits per day. You should be trading better. You should be trading more. Here, come fix this. So those apps are a lot like running on the track. It's a small, defined distance. It's a tiny little loop. It's flat. It's bouncy. It's built for speed. And it's measured to be an exact distance so that you can race people and know what your precise time is over this super short distance. Immediate feedback. I want to know right now, down to the 100th of a second. How am I doing? Am I winning? Am I losing? Feels just like day trading. And that's what we expect whenever we use these short-term trading apps like Robinhood. You want that trade to happen instantly. I want it to happen right now. What's in the news? Buy. When does that earnings report come out? Sell. What are people saying on Reddit? Buy. What's that company's competitor doing? Sell. So for this sprinting event, what should we look for in an investing app that's built for sprinting? So it should boost our speed, should be fast trades, should be very easy, should increase profits. So we've got tools that we need for research, things that we need to research as far as like the news and current trends and things that are happening so that we can hopefully make a good decision and increase our profits. And finally, it should reduce pain just like the other one. The tools and the user interface should be easy enough to help us do more and not bog us down. So here's all the contenders getting ready to run the race. Robinhood, Webull, Tastyworks, Public, and Cash App. On your mark, get set. Pop, pop. Everyone's disqualified. Plot twist. Sorry guys, everyone's DQ'd because day trading is not a valid event for today's contest. Therefore, these apps are all out of the running. Here's why. I don't think sprinting is wise to do every time we exercise, and the same is true for investing. 99% of us, probably more than that, 100% of us minus like one guy in Omaha named Warren, do really bad when we try and day trade. Or when we try and just pick stocks in general. Even if we're not buying and selling during the same day, just picking stocks basically dooms us to failure over the course of decades. So unless you're convinced that you're the 1% or you're the next Warren Buffett and that you're different than all the rest of us somehow, it's actually a bad decision to try and invest this way. Especially if you're a beginner and you didn't study finance, you don't have the top level crazy like algorithm tools and microsecond trading machines and all this kind of stuff. But even if you did have that stuff, even if you were a professional manager at a top hedge fund, typically they do a bad job over the long term. It's so funny, it's so counterintuitive because you'd think the smartest people with the best tools would do the best. But even amongst that crowd, there's very few that do really well. And yeah, there's those headlines where they say, oh, this hedge fund or that guy or whoever did really well this year. Oh, look, compared to the S&P 500 that did bad, he made a big profit. That's a great story that he can sell more clients on for the next year or two. But over the course of 10 or 20 years, they will have a bad track record. And the odds are overwhelmingly in favor of you also having a bad track record if you do the same things. As investors, we have to decide where we're running. Are we going to bullheadedly charge forward and just sprint all day, every day, and expect to not get an injury or to not lose our money, which would be like the financial equivalent of an injury? Or are we going to have a long, slow, intentional journey up the mountain of profit? Well, if you're still with me and you're more interested in profit and long-term success instead of doing things that are exciting but cause us to fail, then there's only two services that we need to talk about. First off, Acorns is the most pain-free by far. There is not an investing service that I've seen that's simpler than this. If you want to get started as fast as possible, as simply as possible, Acorns is your winner. M1 Finance does offer a lot more control if you want and need that, but it's still an excellent choice for beginners. It's nice because you don't pay anything in monthly fees, even though it's only $3 or $5. You still don't have to pay anything, which is great. And it does give you the ability to pick specific funds or specific stocks if you're bound and determined to do that. If you need that control, M1 Finance is your winner. To get started with either of those, I've got links in the description that do give me like a little kickback, and so that really helps me because I put a lot of time and energy into these videos. So to make that continue to happen in the future, to give you this value and to help you make the right decisions, I recommend using those links, but no pressure. This is really just the start. Like, we have only just started on this long journey because there's still a lot of things to learn about the stock market. What is the right account to use? How do you handle taxes? How do you invest for your kids if you have kids? There's lots of stuff left. And I can see in the analytics that only 5% of you all are subscribed to this YouTube channel, which means the other 95% of you are actively missing out on the videos that can help you learn more about how to invest and grow your personal net worth. So do both of us a favor and subscribe so that doesn't keep happening. Hey, the secret comment word for today is millionaire, because my new investing course is live and it helps you become a millionaire. No, seriously though, I have worked on this course for 2 years, hundreds of hours literally, between writing and filming and editing and making this something that's engaging, that's fun, and that actually covers all the topics you need to know. It's longish, 2.5 hours, but it's tight, like a drum. Because you're a subscriber here, I've got a special promo code for you. So the first few people, I think it's the first 100 people that take the class, get this massive discount if you use that link. After that, if you click on that link and there's not a discount anymore, it means that they're all used up and you kind of missed out. So sorry about that, but you snooze, you lose. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about Acorns, I'll put a playlist right here of all the Acorns videos I've made so you can learn everything about that service. See you next time. Bye.